From fiery rebel to peaceful preacher, meet Simon the Zealot, the man who learned calm from the Master himself. Simon the Zealot, also known as Simon Zealot, was the 11th apostle chosen, selected by Simon Peter himself. He came from a respected family in Capernaum, where he lived with his relatives. Before following Yeshua, Simon had worked as a merchant, a man who knew how to deal with people and business. But he wasn't just a businessman, he was also a passionate patriot. Simon belonged to a movement called the Zealots, Jews who dreamed of freeing their land from Roman rule. Simon was 28 years old when he joined the apostles. He was fiery, intense, and full of energy, the kind of man who spoke before thinking, often carried by his emotions. He could be loud and bold, but he had a good heart. Yeshua saw beyond his impulsive nature and recognized a man with deep loyalty and courage. Among the 12 apostles, Simon was given an interesting responsibility. He was in charge of recreation and relaxation. He planned times for the group to rest, laugh, and refresh their spirits. He knew how to lift everyone's mood and bring life to the group when things got heavy. Simon's greatest strength was his loyal enthusiasm. When people hesitated to follow Yeshua or felt uncertain about faith, the apostles would call Simon. In just a few minutes, his energy, conviction, and confidence could inspire anyone. His passion was contagious. He could help someone move from doubt to faith with a few sincere words. But Simon also had weaknesses. His heart was still very nationalistic. He cared deeply for Israel and struggled to understand that Yeshua's kingdom wasn't about earthly power or political victory. It wasn't about overthrowing Rome, but about transforming hearts. It took Simon time to shift from a Jewish nationalist into someone who could see God's larger, spiritual kingdom, one that belonged to all people. Yeshua never gave up on Simon. He was patient, gentle, and calm, qualities that Simon deeply admired. Simon loved how Yeshua stayed composed in every situation, always peaceful, confident, and full of quiet strength. Even though Simon began as a revolutionary and agitator, over the years he changed. Yeshua's love and teaching softened him. The man who once fought for a nation's freedom learned to fight for peace. He became a passionate preacher of peace on earth and goodwill among men. Simon was also an excellent debater. Whenever the apostles needed someone to reason with clever scholars, strict religious leaders, or Greek thinkers, Simon was their man. He loved to engage, challenge, and defend the truth, but always with purpose. At his core, Simon was a rebel. But Yeshua taught him to rebel for something higher, not against people, but against hatred, pride, and ignorance. Simon went from being part of a movement of protest to being part of a movement of progress, one that would last forever. He was fiercely loyal, warm-hearted, and deeply devoted to Yeshua. He loved the Master with all his being. After Yeshua's death and the persecution that followed, Simon was crushed. He had given up his patriotic dreams to follow a spiritual kingdom, and now it seemed everything was lost. For a while he withdrew in despair, but eventually his faith reignited. He found strength again and went out to continue Yeshua's mission. Simon traveled to Alexandria and then up the Nile River, reaching deep into Africa. Everywhere he went, he preached about Yeshua and baptized believers. He spent the rest of his life sharing the good news, passionately and fearlessly, until he grew old and weak. In the end, Simon the Zealot, once a fiery revolutionary, died a man of peace, buried in the heart of Africa. His life is a reminder that even the most passionate heart can be transformed by divine love and purpose. If Simon could turn his fire into peace, so can we. Follow 4 more stories that show how Yeshua changed ordinary lives into eternal legacies. See you tomorrow, and let's know a little bit more about his last recruit, Judas Iscariot. Cheers, and God bless.